Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Jay Campbell is the leading hormone optimization expert in the world today, in my opinion. He's a monster entrepreneur. He's one of the most well-read individuals that I know. And this other fellow here, you know him. He's Derek Brose. You know him as Global Witness, intelligence insider, former Hollywood insider, and former guy that knows something about just about everything, and I would say knows a lot about just about everything. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being on with us tonight.
Pleasure to be here tonight, man. It's very nice to meet you, Derek. This is going to be an absolutely fire-packed, nuclear detonating show, so definitely excited to be here, man.
Absolutely.
Good to meet you, Jay.
Let's start with this. Jay Campbell, you're convinced that John McCain may likely still be alive. Tell us why you think so. And Derek, please respond to Jay's convictions.
So since we had that podcast on Friday night, and I told or said what I had heard, from other Anons, and Derek is obviously very familiar with those folks, but I don't know if he's actually really, truly dead and in hiding. I heard subsequently since then from other Anons that they did execute him. And he was executed though on like a timed interval. And so the reason they knew when he was going to be announced across the mainstream news headlines was because it was planned again by quote unquote, intel from the good guy side, white hat side, however we want to phrase them. But I mean, at this point, no one knows. I mean, we do know what we know, in the current holographic reality is that his casket was closed and that the event was like this gigantic, massive deep state barbecue. I mean, like every single player from the last 30 years, again, and it's crazy, right? Because it's Republicans and Democrats, people that are supposed to be, not partisan, and they're all together hanging out, reading the eulogies. I mean, it was almost like it was like a last type of get together for them before something happened. And obviously we're going to talk about what may or may not happen, but I don't know, man. It just looks weird. It caught me off balance. We all know McCain. There's been so much analysis in the last 3 or 4 days. Again, Jeff, since we did our podcast on Friday night, and McCain is like I said before, I won't swear tonight.
POS.
He is not a good person. He is a fraud. I actually read some stories now that the whole POW stuff is also possibly fabricated. So it's
somebody saying that George Bush and Michelle Obama were very cozy during the funeral, very weirdly cozy.
Yeah, all of it was just crazy. I mean, again, there's a lot of people in the alternative community that are analyzing it and they're saying it was like literally the cabal's last stand, that they know something is coming. What that is, we'll talk about that on the show. And I'll let Derek talk here in 2 seconds, but it was very weird. It's very ominous. Anyone who's quote unquote aware and awake, who saw how the mainstream news made it like the headline story. I mean, it was absurd how much it was being covered by the mainstream news. Now, I don't watch the mainstream news, but on Saturday I had a party at my house for my real estate team. And so we had a bunch of families over there. And so we had football games on in the background, but that's all they were showing. Like every time they went to a break, it was the funeral and the celebration, and the after party or whatever you want to call it after his funeral. And it was just constantly being paraded across the mainstream.
And wasn't it a Trump bashing session as well?
I wasn't listening to it because, I was, with people. Then I just saw the video of it. But I mean, again, it was insane. You got Cheney, you got Rumsfeld, you've got all these Hollywood celebrities and politicos all there. It's like, for what? It's like we know who they are, like who these conspirators are in the quote unquote cabal. And there they all are being paraded on television. It's like, again, at what point does 1 + 1 = 2? Go ahead, Derek.
Well, everything that you can track by the cabal will be linked to signs of math numbers.
Right.
Everything 9/11, everything is linked to very specific numbers. 9/11 being new beginnings, right? So it is literally the sign of the symbol of the country, the phoenix. So whenever I see somebody die at 81 in 2018, and I see a 9 and a 9, and he was days before his birthday where he wouldn't have been. See, because understand this is that to them and to the world, he's dead.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying that a lot of stuff lines up.
Right.
So, and nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, folks, can be put past the gravity of the conspiratorial aspects of this world are staggering.
Yes.
When you understand the mind forces behind this and the coordination through math and the sheer power that they have stretched throughout all of the establishments of the world, banks, media companies, you name it. This is a very easy production to run. For somebody that comes from the film industry and watches massive sets be built that look like full military campaigns, things in the air where the whole world stops. I mean, we shot a movie called Outbreak where I remember we shut down the 101 freeway. We not in Los Angeles, but up north. We shut down the 101 and we took the entire town of Ferndale. We're talking thousands of homes, and we put a light in every single house to falsely light each house, and had massive condors set up and military helicopters and thousands of soldiers, and all of that is coordinated. Yeah. That is just a macro view of what they can do from a micro view. It is staggering what they can do on a large scale. Hollywood is like training. It's like a training seminar to be a part of that. So when I see 81 and I see 18 and I see just before his death, and just knowing how loyal he has been to the Kabal, to the world, he's dead. They kill him to the world.
Right.
Right. It's really, really simple. And you can find these people. In fact, the very first time I ever met anybody, as I met where somebody brought something up like this to me, was I met Stanley Kubrick. Oh, and wow. we were in London. We were at the Dorchester Hotel, and I met him. I was talking to him, and it was him and Tim Burton. So you can't get two wackier guys, right?
I've heard this story. It's a good one.
Yeah, two guys. And basically he sits, and I'm thinking these guys have really been off their rocker and been drinking all night. And Stanley Kubrick basically says that he shot the moon landing. And I'm sitting there thinking, boy, this guy really is psychopath at the time. And then come to find out that he wrote the details of it and said that to release that 15 years after his death, which he did, and completely falls on deaf ears. And everybody else thinks what I thought then. He's just a crazy dude.
Right.
But he actually left clues
in every one of
his movies to let you know this. Everyone. Okay? So he was very much a part of that. And what he was doing, he almost, I can't even express how he said it, but I was there. The only reason I met him is because he was in London shooting Eyes Wide Shut.
Right.
And we were doing the PR campaign for Jerry Maguire. So I was there with Tom and Nicole. And so we're in London at the time. We were all staying in the same hotel. And so when he said, I'm doing he basically said, he goes, I'm doing my death wish, the thing that I wanted to do before I die. And I was like, what's that? And he goes, oh, it's, it's wide shut. And that was what he called it. Instead of Eyes Wide Shut, he just said wide shut. It's wide shut. I'm doing, the one thing that I had to do this before I died, almost knowing that he was not going to make it through telling that story. Because if you look at it, watch that movie. It's all about the inside of the Kabal. It's definitely a disclosure. And the thing about Kubrick is that he had established himself with the studios in such a way that nobody could question his editing. Nobody could question that stuff. He could force that stuff through. So he forced a lot of things through. He's not filtered like many other directors would, and he has the power to, or he had the power to step over these people. So long answer short, I think his death and the way it happened, the age and everything is highly suspicious, but that's common.
Well, all of these people who serve their purpose, so to speak, in Hollywood. And we're going to get to this. And, Derek, you've got a lot of experience in Hollywood. I have a very, very minimal experience a long time ago.
Jay, let's morph into the new Q drop and the three options with Trump as you finish up this question.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to say that I'm very, very familiar with Stanley Kubrick. I've met Jay Weidner, who's done, a very deep analysis and documentary, really an expose on Stanley Kubrick and all of his movies. So I'm very, very familiar with all the insider, the movie within the movie of every one of his movies. I mean, Stanley Kubrick was a tortured soul. because he was forced, obviously, to create these movies. But anyway, to get to what you just said, Jeff, and kind of stay along the party line, a lot of this, I think this entire show is going to be about Hollywood and politicos and how they are kind of controlling the narrative and what's really behind them. But anyway, so the Q latest. So this morning, Trump put out a tweet that was very interesting. And I won't read it, but just to paraphrase, it was something along the lines that he was just bludgeoning Jeff Sessions. And a lot of people have said in the last like 2 months, especially, you know, if it's controlled disinfo, you're like, what's going on with Sessions? He's not doing anything. He's not really a part of the quote unquote white hat side. He's not really an ally of Trump. He's not doing anything to get people out. So this is my opinion. I want Derek's opinion on this too. Obviously Jeff too. This is what I believe. And I put this in the group of guys I mentor today. And so there's only 3 options between Trump and Sessions right now. Number one is that Trump is actively playing a role in a sort of a rope-a-dope and making people believe that he is against Jeff Sessions and Sessions is going along with it. That's option one. Or Trump really is against Jeff Sessions and Sessions isn't really the guy that most people in the white hat community think that he was, and he's not bringing anyone to justice. Or, and this is the one that's unfortunate, and I'm starting to not believe that this is possible just based on what's out there. Now, Derek may have a different opinion, but that QAnon is a total deep state maneuver and that Trump is just a controlled patsy and they have brilliantly scammed us as they have done for thousands of years. And I said, you know, this would not be surprising considering the Anunnaki are 10 to 15 times smarter than us. Now, before I toss it over to Derek, I just personally believe in my heart, by knowing that the darkness is coming undone. Now, I don't know when it will, and I won't make a prediction, but believing, you know, and obviously this is the next point, and that's why Derek can really tie this in. The next point is that Trump had created National Preparedness Month in September. It's a new amendment to the Constitution.
Be careful what you say about Trump. Heidi Vandenberg's in the chat room.
So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out that shows or would make one who's intelligent and logical to assume that they're letting us know that we're going to destabilize. Okay. Now, I don't know what destabilize means, and I don't know if it's just controlled unrest, civil unrest, you know, FEMA called in. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But my guess is, again, if you read all the ancient texts, it's always darkest before dawn. I know Derek is a very big reader of the ancient texts. So if we are going to have a cleanup and we are going to get rid of the darkness, the Kabal, the Draco reptilians, whatever you want to call them behind it, the Dark Brotherhood, there's no way in my mind it's going to go peacefully. Not everybody's going to just hold their hands up and get taken to Gitmo. Okay. These people have been in control of this planet for so long that if they are truly going down, they're not going down without a grand finale. That's my opinion. Derek, what do you say?
One question before we move on to that. Just one word answers, gentlemen. I think we all 3 agree that Kubrick did fake the moon landing, but the one word answer, Jay, did we ever really go to the moon?
Yes, we did, but not when Kubrick, not the original in 1968, because it was a space race and the Russians beat us and we were trying to make that Cold War initiative look like we were the top guys.
Derek, did we ever go?
Yes.
Okay. And now please catch that ball that Jay threw to you and roll on. Thank you very much.
So let me just say that just like everything in this world, the true creators are us.
Right.
And the enemy corrupts what is created. So the Father creates, the enemy corrupts it. So QAnon started as Anons. I know this for fact. So I know where QAnon yielded from. I know the Anons involved in that. I know who that was. That idea was usurped in the same way that Anonymous going to New York and protesting against Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, was then usurped by the political systems as well. Because they don't have any good ideas, right? When Nancy Pelosi said, you know, this is a AstroTurf movement, she was disclosing because who better to know what AstroTurf is, right? A fake green grass movement.
Right.
So in doing that and understanding that QAnon, and I said in my one anonymous video that I made, that's one of the original videos, I said QAnon, until proves differently, is authentic, right? But so I predicted it back then. in December when I released that video, I said, this will be usurped, basically.
Right.
So right now it's authentic, but when it stops being authentic, pay attention.
So Derek, let me ask you a question real quick to that. So I agree with you. I believe that there's math out there. Like you said, the path is in the math. You can trace all of this.
The path is in the math. I love that.
There's been very disciplined cue drops in the beginning, right after Trump did these like strategic tweets, and no one could figure it out back then. You know, the fact that you were able to know that because you have a non-background in December, you're way ahead of the game. But then I agree with you, and I just want your opinion on this. I think that everything up until the last literally month has been disinfo and has been the CIA and whoever else is, like you said, you know, spoofing this whole thing. And then all of a sudden, and again, I don't know, I'm asking you, it just appears that in the last month, a lot of the drops have been so staggeringly, seemingly authentic that it would be, quote unquote, white hats providing intel. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's 100% owned by but see, here's where I just want to make sure that you kind of understand how this all functions. When you say that in order for us to get rid of the deep, dark cabal that's been running everything, you have to understand that the deep, dark cabal that's running everything is being removed by the deep, dark cabal that's running everything.
Say that again, Derek.
That's actually true.
The deep, dark cabal that has run everything is being removed and eliminated by the deep, dark cabal that runs everything.
So would you, okay, so let's say I agree with you, and I actually do. Would you then say that deep, dark cabal that's removing the current deep, dark cabal is just another breakaway civilization warring faction of elites? So this group of elites, which is obviously prepped and run by Trump, is fighting the current stranglehold elites, and they're pushing them out to make way for Trump and his gang?
The symbol of this country, the symbol of ancient Rome, the symbol of all of the same ideologies, all the way dating back to the beginning, okay, is the symbol of what they call an eagle, but is the phoenix.
It's the phoenix.
That is order, and their motto is order from chaos, okay? They create the chaos so they can call themselves the order. It's how they maintain
That's David Icke's problem, reaction, solution.
Right.
Always. Okay, they create the disease because they have the solution to it. So they can go, you see how badly you need us. You need government. So everything is done through fear. Everything is done through a destruction. That's what 9/11 was. Right. Everything is, you heard every single news channel was parroting the same line that day. At this point, everything is going to change. Well, of course it is, because you are forcing it, right? And just to give you an example as to how well prepared they were, that as a simple little thing like this is that the TSA, right, being the Transportation Safety Administration, was established, had logos, had uniform, and was employing people at airports all over the country within days.
I know. Michael Chertoff was behind that.
These people can't build a website inside 4 years when it's a long-term plan. Like, okay, within days.
TSA was conceived, born, and rolled out within a week.
It's true, dude. I remember.
I was in the Air Force for 6 years, and you can't roll out a new hat for your squadron in a week.
No,
all this stuff is planned.
Yes, and keep this in mind, that every single private security company, because they were all private security companies at each airport.
Right.
It's
Sheldon. Listen, you can
thousands of them gone.
You guys can trace the money.
You got to control the narrative.
But listen, you could trace the money to that, Derek. I've looked into this hardcore, but Sheldon Adelson, who owns half of Vegas.
I've been in Sheldon's house.
A big Zionist.
His daughter's best friend.
Sheldon.
I've been in Sheldon 767.
Sheldon's money. It was Sheldon's money, and then Chertoff and all these other people that were under the Bush administration that Bush chose. You're right. This was organized probably a decade in advance.
Yes. So it's crazy that you've been in his house. Seriously, I have friends that worked for him, and Sheldon basically, and this was with Microsoft, Sheldon gave me a ride to China.
Wow.
To Macau, to a casino. So long story, but that's a whole other than that was a private, quiet, very hush-hush thing. So, so long story short, yes, you're right. Sheldon's money and all of these people in there. It is mind-blowing. It is Jeff, why are you gonna make me laugh?
I know. Maybe not too. Stop, man! What the hell? We're trying to help people here. We're trying to help the people out there. That is funny, by the way.
So
Continue.
so
Continue.
this big plush 767 that has gold sinks and everything, but
So you got him back on the plane
that he bought from this, Sultan of Brunei. Anyways, so this cabal. But let me help you understand this: that the Masons that go back, all of these secret societies are all the same secret society. Everybody wants to think about it as many. If all you have to do, when people right now are going, oh, well, China, Russia is withdrawing from the dollar and China's going to do this. All of this is planned like a screenplay.
Right. Absolutely.
And all of them are involved in that screenplay. And how you know that, like I said, they tell you the truth. You know all of these things. I've shown it in the videos. I've talked about this a number of times. The obelisk that we have, the Washington Monument in DC, right, has very specific dimensions. You know who runs the show. Measure the obelisks. They're all variations of the exact same dimensions. China has one in their capital. Russia has one in their capital. Right. London has them in their capital. Rome.
The Vatican has one.
If you want to know who's running the show, follow the horns. 10 horns in Bible and scripture, right? 10 horns, 7 heads. 7 heads is the image of the beast. Behind the 7 heads, the dollar. 7 heads, 7 different denominations of the dollar. 10 horns is 10 political powers that run the image of the beast. The image is the dollar. So all you have to know is that they're planning the destruction, just like I've said in these videos. How you know it's coming down, the dollar will crash. They will blame. I'm going to give you guys a little insight here. Okay, check this out. You want to know how well and how easy this gets done codedly? Okay, everybody knows what ISIS is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, forget ISIS because its real name is ISIL.
That's right.
That's what its original name was.
And Obama used to drop that name. Was that mistaken or was he just throwing it out there?
No, because they were changing the name. We changed the name. They didn't change the name because we run them. Why do you think their murders and their decapitating of people was such a Hollywood production, right?
We created them.
Right.
So here's the deal. Here's how this is going to be blamed. And it's also a signal that this is the next step. What do you see? You say, is that right? Okay, it's good on the screen. I thought it might be backwards. ISIS, right? Take this. Take this. That's where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Cash, cash. The dollar. That's the dollar sign. Coded.
So Derek, then when? Okay, so I think we actually agree. So you're basically saying that Trump, even though they're trying to make him out as like the good guy, he just represents another faction of the ruling elite. He's pushing out the NWO, the globalists, whatever they are, to a more nationalist type thing. So he's trying to nationalize. And obviously there's a nationalist movement going on in every country now, right? We see it in Europe. We see it in Germany. We see it in the United States. We see it in obviously both of the Koreas. It's happening. So that's clearly the movement. So let's kind of isolate this for people. What do you see happening before the end of the year?
Why did Trump declare September National Family Preparedness Month?
But is that it, Derek? Is it going to be the crash of the currency? Because if you think about it, I was talking to my family tonight, and I have an interesting story, and I'll let Derek answer, and then I want to say something to people about this because it's amazing how few people are aware of any of this. But if they did crash the dollar, they could control it in a way where Trump could come on and say, look, I'm taking down the Federal Reserve and we're reinstituting a new currency system. And that's how they could do it, Derek. And it would be
Remember, Trump is the king of debt, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. It could be like 3 days a bank holiday. They could just like proclamate it like, look, you won't be able to access your money for 3 days. But is that what you think it's going to be? Is that the major event?
No. They're setting you up for just like they did in 2008. Okay. See, the difference is they weren't the preparedness. So keep in mind that there's more than one goblin behind the scenes.
Right.
Okay. There are 2 major power structures behind the scenes. They both are the same, but they are both different.
Right.
So go all the way back to the Anunnaki. Okay. So go back to Enki and Enlil. Imagine 2 brothers still fighting over domination.
Right.
Okay. They're my people. No, they're my people. They're my people. I made them. Well, I'm the commander of them. This stupid nonsense. Okay.
And then they manage the Draco.
It's the same exact fight going on right now. It's the fight that's established in our DNA. It's the ancient Cain and Abel, which I did the video on today. It's the ancient Osiris and Set. It's the same thing. Okay.
Right.
So with this, we have this battle going on, and it's powers that be. But the reality is, there's also respect amongst those powers. That one is, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding you.
No, I know. It's true, man. It's like a chessboard.
Yeah, there's respect amongst those powers. It's like they sit and, it's kind of like sitting and having tea in the morning and go, I'm going to be shooting at you. You won't know when it's coming from, and I'll shoot back to you. Oh, I love you, brother.
You're 100% right. Gerald Clark talks about this. It's literally a living simulated chessboard, and they are sitting there in their Jupiter thrones, just like they did in Greece. Yes. Yes.
And this is happening. So understand that. First of all, people go, oh, no, Trump can't. I heard somebody say Trump can't be bought.
He was bought in the 90s.
Trust me, Trump can be bought. It's not about money, right? You can be bought. You can buy somebody's life that is so interested in their life. Imagine this for a second. Imagine you run into election and every single one of them, or every single president, is faced with this condition. The second that they are elected, they have that meeting at the Bilderberg building. And that's not even a secret. That's not a conspiracy theory about the Bilderberg group. They literally have this intel meeting where everything is disclosed to them.
Right.
That meeting, every single time you'll see the president comes out, he looks like he saw a ghost.
Right.
Okay. Every time it's a wake-up call.
Right.
Now, here's the whole thing. Imagine you're Trump and you think that you got a handle on it. Remember, he was all about, I hate the Federal Reserve, it's BS and everything. If he had any kind of gonads, that where he could actually do it, he'd have gotten into that thing and he tore the Federal Reserve out of the ground, right? He'd have tore the building down and bulldozed that thing to the ground. He can't, he won't, because they literally own the country.
Right.
Okay. Like, the country is a corporation. That's why they sit behind those flags with the gold fringe. Okay. It is a corporation. It is owned. And that debt, remember this, Jay, is that the debt that we have 120 trillion something stated debt, right? We have more than 900 trillion unstated debt.
Right. It's incalculable.
You can't even comprehend that. First of all, there isn't enough gold. There isn't enough value on earth to pay it back.
Right. Right.
Okay. So this is the most important thing to follow from a rational standpoint, is that the Federal Reserve prints the money from a bank account that has zero. Okay, so they are the scam artists. They are the top of the scam pyramid. They print the money, they give it to the Treasury. The Treasury then hands it out to everybody. They have an interest call on every dollar that they write you.
Right.
Now, do you think the Federal Reserve and the owners, because it has owners, it's a private bank.
Yeah, it's not part of the government.
It's not part of the government.
More federal than Federal Express.
Yes. So know this, is that the Federal Reserve, even though it looks like the White House and sits on Constitution Avenue, that's the illusion, right? Do you think for 1 second the Federal Reserve is going to allow you to pay them in fake dollars that they printed?
Right.
What do we pay them back with, Jay? What is the debt paid back with?
Our souls.
What? That's it. You have to understand that the Reserve owns people.
Right.
They own you.
That's why we get a Social Security number at birth. That's exactly
right. They own you, and they'll force you to get it. You're not allowed to not have it.
Right. That's exactly right.
So here's the reality, folks. If you think that we can pay back our debt, you can't, because they don't accept dollars that they print for nothing out of nowhere. Right. Why would they accept? They could print their own money back to themselves. Right. So you have to understand that the cabal, like I said, that is tearing this down, this is where we have an outside force. Believe me when I tell you that this system and this prison that we are in here is not agreeable to other forces.
Right.
Okay. So when I tell you that this is a rescue mission, this is not continuing. So this destruction right now is their attempt to call in the end of the age. But see, they also know, Jay, the end of this age, according to the scriptures, the reason why things are happening, the reason why you have the third temple in Jerusalem being built, the reason why they're having that coin with Trump's head put on it in Israel, the reason why they're doing these things is because they follow it.
Right. Exactly.
It's just an instruction book.
It's a timeline, right? Yeah. Well, John Pinella.
Candace talked about harvesting our blood. Jay, use that to answer this and segue into our adrenochrome discussion. Well, where does all this blood go from the slaughterhouses and the funeral homes?
Well, let me get to that in 1 second. Let me just continue what Derek has said, because Jeff, you've done many great videos on this. But John Pinella, of all people, here we are winding back to the divinesecretgarden.com. Guys, if you're watching this show and you're not familiar with that guy's work, go read it, because it's exactly what is apparent now.
And there's a lot of videos on this channel breaking down the first book.
It's honestly, it's truly mind-blowing, because Pinella basically says, he's freely admitted, and I've had many personal conversations with him. He doesn't talk to anybody anymore, so don't try to email him. But he's like, look, there you go. The truth is that he's like, look, I've been divinely inspired. I get automatic writing when I run out of answers, but I knew that Trump was the trumpet, and that he was coming back to destroy the New World Order, to quote unquote make people believe that he was establishing order again, and then he was going to be the great deceiver. And boom, then it all goes to you know what. But
problem, reaction, solution. But
back to what you just said, though, Derek, when you said outside intervention, who's the outside? How do you define what the outside intervention is?
Let me just say that probably the best way, Jay, to get in detail, and I did a video that if you go to my channel, you'll see it looks like it has an H on the thumbnail. That speaks of it's the Andromedan message. So know this, that
people from Andromeda.
Yes.
Okay.
And that they speak very much, and it speaks very much about Draconians and Andromedians. Okay, so Draconians and Andromedians, understand that a portion of the Andromedians joined the Draconians and helped lead this.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too, by the way. I've heard that the galactic forces that are involved in this, trying to take us out of this timeline and this dark negativity, this
isn't acceptable.
Yeah,
this is not acceptable. You think about it, just like we have, hey, you're not allowed to oppress those people in that country. We're going to come in because you've made a bunch of people slaves and are torturing them, right? Think about it from a cosmological standpoint, that we have, we have exopolitics.
Right.
There is actually more than us here. In our arrogance and in our stupidity, quite honestly, they've reduced us to make us think that we're just here. I'm sorry, but you can't.
Politics meaning people from outside of Earth, correct?
Yeah, it's Michael Salas.
The politics of the universe, that this system is unacceptable. Now we think, well, how come they've let it go on for so long? But from a timeline standpoint, it's actually not long at all. From an exopolitical standpoint, this is a very short period of time. We've been in this deep sleep, seriously, a deep sleep. And it is really a deep sleep, but they are waking up. And I'm going to tell you right now that when scripture talks about these things, that there's going to be hell to pay. Let me tell you something. There's going to be serious hell to pay for those involved in this. And those that have, when you read in Revelation that it says, when it's talking about Babylon falling, right, the entire description is very much the United States.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's what Pinella says. And that's exactly what Pinella said.
The dollar and everything. And what's its instruction? It tells you the truth. Get out of her. Do not. And if you listen to that message that I have posted and the different pieces where I'm talking about the intelligence of people, when we want to reduce our enemy to the little devil that's red with a pointy tail and a pitchfork, that's our problem. That you have to understand that the intellect involved is far greater than you can comprehend.
Yeah,
and that's what's articulated in this, is that I'm drawing a blank on his name. Tyson.
Neil deGrasse.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm not a big fan of his, and he's led all sorts of CIA crap, but forget about that. When somebody speaks the truth, they speak the truth. And what he's talking about, he says the difference between a chimpanzee and us is 1%.
Right.
In increase in intellect, right? So if that chimpanzee
sometimes
to us,
that's a skinny 1%, I'm just going to say, but
yeah, but imagine this: in that 1%, we're launching Hubble telescopes, right? With that 1%.
Right.
So what happens when there's 8% or just another percent above us. That 1% above us looks at us like chimpanzees.
Well, the Anunnaki, from what I've read and what I've been able to see, are 10 to 12 times our intellect.
Believe me, when you read texts that are 40,000 years old in cuneiform and are speaking about 250,000 years ago, and they're traveling around on hydrogen-powered vessels,
yes,
and making rivers move from one continent to the next, you realize that these guys got some juice.
And they showed us those vehicles in the movie Oblivion.
Hollywood's always showing us everything. So you guys, let's get back on like some of these topics because Derek just took us down a dark rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole. I'll take you all the way down, man.
But it's all good. This is really good. And I want to get back to so we can make predictions if we can, or, try to offer. I don't know if there's any solutions. I mean, you saw what I wrote on the last, Jeff and I did in the Friday night show. I mean, do we have how many, I believe as a person of discernment that, and I hate to say believe, but I think we know that this is the end of the timeline. Now, I don't know what comes after the end of the timeline. Is it a golden age? Is it an ascension moment for certain select souls who have done the work? I don't know, but it is very ominous right now. But just to go back to kind of what a little bit, a couple of the topics just to kind of see, and we can just jump through here. But so what's going to happen, Derek? So in the next 3 to 4 months, there's all this intel, there's all these things being said. Are you saying it's total disinfo, or are you saying there is going to be something that's going to happen?
Here's what's taking place right now is that people are being so led in so many different directions about timelines and things like this.
Right.
Here's the reality. This is where I always revert to scripture, because people can say, oh, well, how can you say the Bible's a lie, but then rely on it? Because I know they rely on it and I know they follow it. So with that said, that's what every Anon, that's the conclusion, that every true Anon that's dug into these secrets ends up finding secrets, and they ultimately end up and find out there's a much bigger power behind this.
Right.
And once they do, they don't even know what to do anymore, right? Because you can't even come up against that power. So know this is that when you read that no one will know the day, the time, of the hour, that's true. But more importantly, when you read that that it says that he will come like a thief in the night.
Right.
A thief in the night, people go, oh, that's instant, right? No, it's not. A thief in the night, you don't know that he was there until he's gone and has already taken everything of value. You wake up and go, crap, I've been robbed, right? So
great point, Derek. I never thought of it.
Assuming he hasn't killed you, though.
The first stage of this will be like, I had no idea this was coming, okay? So that's the first stage that we've yet to see. I won't tell you a timeline on it because everything is predicated on their ability to succeed. Okay, so in other words, they don't do things until they've succeeded over here. That hammer drops and that thing. These are all signals to do certain things.
Can I jump in at this point for 1 second?
No, Jeff, it's not your show. You can't.
Jay and Derek, I like to believe that people like us doing what we're doing can help put off their timeline by lessening their chances of success. Is that a pipe dream?
I don't think that we can put it off. What I think that we can do is salvage the people that can hear, that are meant to hear.
Eyes to see and ears to hear.
Period. Because the reality is resistance is futile. So when you read in scripture, because it's not, here's the big illusion. This is what I say. When the war breaks out, when you have Armageddon, and Armageddon is literally a war. That's where it says Leviathan and Behemoth, right? The Leviathan from the sea and Behemoth from the land. These two gods battling out, these two forces. That's what you're seeing come together now. So these two power structures, these two entities, here's the key to survive this. Don't pick a side. Right. Both of them are evil, right? You've got Elohim and Yahweh, according to scripture. Right. They were the two deceivers. They aren't the God of all. They are not it. And believe me, that will come because you're going to be battling these and you're going to go, oh, I'm him. I'm with this dude right here. No, I'm with this guy right here.
Right.
Christ, pretty precise to say the middle way, right? Be a passerby. Just observe and pay attention because it's your spirit, who you are, that will define how you live through this.
It's like the Republicans and the Democrats.
That's what I was just going to say.
The same bird.
Ignore them both.
So I agree with you, but the problem is that we're in a world right now, truth or dare, where the majority of people are wrapped up into duality, and they do pick sides, and they are entrenched, and they have their skepticism and their, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Jeff and I were talking before you came on, Derek, tonight. This is a story I wanted to say is like, go and look at a 70-year-old man or a 75 or 80-year-old woman, who's out there and they have absolutely no comprehension of any of this. And think about the things that we know. Think about the stuff we're talking about, and then just like look in their faces. I mean, not tell them, but just like look into their eyes and try to empathize with them. I mean, there's just, in my mind, there's no way that this information can come out into the mainstream in any way. And again, I know that the Anons are saying that Trump is going to do it in a way. I mean, Jeff and I talked on Friday night that maybe they're going to just storm the mainstream news with special forces and just, go in and run videos that they've edited. Who knows? But there's just no way that the majority of sheeple, can take this. This will be such a shock to their central nervous systems that I don't know how they can handle it.
They can't. And this is where we have to come to terms with the end of the age, because the reality is the scriptures, ancient scripture, everything speaks to this, that man's mind will fail them. They will die. They will die of shock for fear, for coming to terms, because look, the reality is that the vast majority of people, you've got cosmologically things that are controlled by these entities.
Right.
Okay. So they will cause things to happen. One of their devices, people can't comprehend the fact that a moon could be a device.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
We know it's a device.
They can't
if a moon can be a device, a planet can be a device.
It is a device, right? The thing is that we are devices. We are biological AI. That's how advanced they are.
Yes.
The only thing that makes us come to terms with those things is the spirit within us, which they can't alter. And as these things change, these truths come to us. I'm only speaking these things because those things have altered. Otherwise, I'm back making $1 million a year sitting on my butt.
Let me just
in a trailer, right? I'm not here for no reason at all. I'm not here trying to get wealthy. I could care less. Somebody could come in and drop $1 million on there. I'd burn that stuff right in front of his face.
It doesn't matter. So
let me ask one question before you go on. Derek, you said get out of her, my people. Are you recommending that people move out of the United States?
Get out of her is always going to be spiritually, right? They're not going to be able to leave. You can't. There's just limitations to what you have. Believe me, if you could jump on a plane and take all your stuff and get out of here and leave everything behind. But here's the deal. I can promise you that statement, what it's going to mean, that fleeing to the mountains, if you think that anybody doubted that statement in scripture, wait till this stuff begins to happen and wait till it begins to happen on the ground. People are going to try like hell to get out of here. And they're going to wonder why they ever doubted. And here's the thing. And this is why, when the words of Christ says, before me, you know no sin, now you have no cloak, right? That this is the problem, is that everybody that actually heard this message and everybody that has listened to you, Jeff, and listened to me, you, Jay, and listened to me on my channel and all that, those people that ignored it and called us idiots, when this happens, the guilt and the shame that they will feel as a result of being told, because what it will be, and they'll recognize it, that God was literally talking directly to them, and they straight out ignored him.
The only thing that matters, Derek,
and they will never accept entry into any grace at that point.
The only thing that matters right now, with all of this happening, without being able to predict an end timeline, without really knowing what's going to happen other than what we've been having from the ancient text, the Bible, the scriptures, you have to get your soul right. Jeff and I say that on every single show. I have, and I don't want to lose topic because I know there's some other amazing topics we're going to tackle on this. So we're going to go as long as we need to. We got 350 people watching live. And thank you guys for watching live tonight. We appreciate it. As long as Jeff doesn't fall asleep, we'll keep going. And Derek, where are you right now, time zone wise?
I think it's
You're Pacific time, I think.
Oh, he's with me, so we're good. So me and Derek will keep you up all night, Jared.
Yeah, we'll just let Jeff go to sleep. You'll see him behind him.
I'm good.
But very seriously, to go what you're saying, because you're right. Because ultimately we cannot predict what is going to come, but those of us with eyes to see and ears to hear know that there are no coincidences in life. Everything.
No such thing.
So if you're watching this right now, you should not be thinking fear, guilt, control. You should be thinking, how do I get my soul right? What do I do to get my soul right so that whatever happens, I'm ready to go on to the next journey? Now, guys, remember, all of us are smart guys. Most of you watching are smart guys. You don't die. Your soul is infinite.
You are an eternal being.
The master said that if you gain the whole world and lose your own soul, that's a bad thing. But guess what? If you gain your own soul, you don't care if you lose the whole world.
All of this means nothing. This is literally a physical, material form world. We're in avatar bodies. As Derek just said, our souls are infinite. We are eternal beings. We can go and do and manifest anything we want. But let me just go back to one thing.
The fact is, we're dead already, aren't we, Derek?
I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, technically, yes, because if you leave perfection as a plasma soul infinite being to come into a physical meat suit, to go on vacation, to enjoy the experience of the experience, as Matthew Ferry says, then yeah. I mean, but a lot of people do pick this, and it is a choice, a free will choice. But anyway, to get back to some of the stuff, we got a link. And I'm just going to summarize it, that was sent to me and Jeff in the middle of the day today. And it came from a very high level source. And it's from some guy. There's a lot of people probably watching this now that have already gotten it because it spread around like wildfire. It was published on Saturday. It's some guy in Juneau, Alaska. He's like some dorky fat dude. And his name is Shalom J or Justin or Jason or something like that or whatever. But he's like connected to an Anon. And anyway, he published a lot of stuff that is incredible. Like, it's so mind-blowing that it was like, whoa. I mean, Jeff and I were texting each other today. We're like, this can't be serious. And then from the person it came from, he's like, dude, it's serious. And what's happening, and you can comment maybe to this in a second.
Please, Derek, about how Anons distribute.
Yes. So the Anons, evidently, when they get access to this information from servers, government servers, wherever it's coming, high crypto stuff, they just disseminate it to like in the wild so that they can spread it around the earth as much as possible, because there's two reasons they do that. Obviously, to get truth with error, because they know people are going to have fish stories and they're going to add nonsense to it. So there's never going to be a crystal clear decoding. And then also just to get it out there so that, it can't be totally controlled, because the eye in the sky, AI technology, all that stuff, they're monitoring everything. They're listening to us right now. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the bottom line is that's where we're at. But guys, I just want to just give you guys a couple of things from the video. They said that the Pope eats children in the Vatican. Okay. Has raped 3 girls, 13-year-old girls. 2 of them, he got pregnant. They're all coming out to testify. There's like this Interpol. They've already got him dead to right in Interpol, but they can't get him out of the Vatican to arrest him. Because remember, in the Vatican, you can't do anything.
It's a sovereign nation.
Yeah, and then all this other stuff is coming out too. I mean, you guys can't even believe what they have on all these politicos. Now, before Derek jumps in, we did get another website from somebody on Twitter, and it's called, and we should put this link in tomorrow, Jeff. It's called ogtells.wordpress.com. Anyway, the guy's a special projects guy. He's, a MyLabs guy. He wrote stuff in 2017, and this article that he wrote that Jeff and I read today is so mind-altering, it blew my brain up. It's called Ritual Child Sexual Abuse Involving Politicians, Mind Control, Spiritual Enslavement, Celebrity Cloning, and Holographic Simulated Realities. Now, I'm just going to give you guys a 10-second, 15-second high-level synopsis of this.
And then jump in, Derek.
Every single politician, according to control, anywhere in the world is in this incestuous mix of people, AI, I'm sure beings that you mentioned already, that force them to have sex with children. They videotape it. They're actually the kids themselves, before they become politicians and famous actors and celebrities, are raped and molested. And so it's this giant, like, incestuous circle jerk and tree of people who will never speak or never talk, because they're all being recorded by, again, the fear and control rulers, so that they never talk. So you're literally thinking of every politician that's in the deep state, in the cabal, and really everywhere with power, has been cloned, has been molested, and has done the same thing, and still carries out the same thing right now. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, even though it's crazy. Remember, truth is stranger than fiction, because they never talk. Nothing ever comes out. So anyway, Derek, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm sure you're familiar with Adrenochrome.
Mm-hmm.
We were gonna
And
talk
what that's
about
all
that.
about, right? So just people don't know that adrenochrome is essentially a chemical within your bloodstream that comes out during torture or just before death.
Yep.
And it's far more potent in children because of its purity,
Right.
because it isn't tainted, and they release more because they are closer to where they came from.
Right.
And so they torture them so they can drain their blood and drink their blood. Yes, this is because it gives you extra life. It does give you more authority
Yes.
amongst the evil forces that are there. It does work. They wouldn't do it if it didn't.
Right.
Right?
Wow.
It's not just ritual.
Right.
That it does actually work, and you can only get it from a person that is tortured. Primarily only comes, you would have to drink, all the blood of a grown man that was tortured. And for a baby, that baby can source
Right.
4
They
or
put it
5
in like
people.
this amount. It's like that much amount. Yeah.
They can have, just communion is enough.
Right.
Oh, isn't that a tie-in, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay. So,
It's so horrible that like we laugh about
so
it, but it's
so know this, that but see, it's so horrible, but at the same time, think about it from their perspective. I'm not giving them any justification, but the reality is they know this is all fake.
Yeah.
They know this is all temporary.
that's what the article says, by the way, too.
And they all have made the Faustian bargain.
Oh yeah, we know
Right?
they've sold their souls.
So the Faustian bargain happens, folks. Shakespeare didn't write about it because it was a mystery. He wrote about it to tell you that it's a real bargain, that you are made that deal. And trust me, this isn't a deal where they come to you. And one guy commented on one of my videos today where he turned down a deal, for $1 billion. He's a businessman, and they wiped him out. Believe me.
Right. Oh yeah.
I can tell you right now that when you mess with the Kabal's system, I personally know, and I will testify to the world when the time comes exactly how it all took place. I watched it happen. Okay. So when you go after them and you can delete money from a system, okay, money that doesn't exist,
Right.
delete it. Even if you think it's yours, Jay.
Right.
Because see, that's the illusion. People think the money that they have in the bank is theirs.
It's fiat.
It's not theirs. It's the bank's. That's why it's a note, right?
Yep.
That's a debt instrument, means they own it.
Just like people's houses. People think they own their house.
If it were your money, it would be legal for you to burn it. It's
Right.
not.
Right.
Okay, it's theirs.
How addictive is adrenochrome compared to heroin?
50 times, that's what it says.
Yep. A lot more. That because the power that it gives you is so heightened beyond recognition. And think about it. I mean, it's an awful thing, and it does take place. But see, the torturous aspect of this is essentially what's going to happen in the longer form, that they torture these kids. And as they're torturing them, the ultimate torture that really brings it on is that every one of these children they get from very Christian family, people that think
Yes,
they follow
exactly.
these. Okay.
Exactly. The most
So they
devout.
scream
the
at them
most
and they
devout.
tell them, and they're torturing them, and they say, call out to your God, Jesus.
That's
And they
exactly
scream
right.
for Jesus. And when Jesus
Exactly
doesn't
right.
show up,
Exactly right.
that's when it's released, because the last gasp has been released. They don't have anything else.
Derek, stop.
of
Let me
despair.
put something out there right now, because Derek is dropping bombs, people. And I'm going to put something out there that's going to scare the living Jesus out of the rest of you guys. And I'm putting this out there right now. And I put this out on Twitter today. And I actually responded to another brilliant guy. I don't know who he is. He's definitely a pseudonym. He's somebody in the know. His name is Deke Francis. He's on Twitter.
That's a false name, ladies and gentlemen. Pseudonym is a false name.
Listen, Derek just said something that's very, very powerful. And all of us need to realize this. And if this hurts you and it shocks you and you get mad at me, I don't give a rat's ass. Every single time you pray to an Abrahamic little g God, you are giving him power. You are not praying to the creator of all. You are praying to an Anunnaki false God who has misled you, corrupted your religious scriptures, who has taught you to worship in an altar, in a pew, in a shrine, and a sharif, any of these places, and it's not the creator of all. You are not worshiping God. You are worshiping little g. And as Derek just said, you are giving him power.
Jay, I said this a long time ago. Praying, Praying, makes you Prey.
Yes. Now, here's the reality of this, is that the correct answer from the child, when they say, call out to your Christ, the child should say, I am he.
Right.
Ooh.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, how many kids are going to say that while they're being tortured?
That is the reality of it. And that's what I'm saying, is that when you recognize who you are, and believe me, that would stop those crackheads in their tracks, because the fact of the matter is, if you do really truly know who you are behind this bullshit skin that I got on, believe me, when all hell comes time to break loose, this stuff is fleet, and I'm going to be whooping some serious ass. I'm just going to let you know that right
Derek,
now.
are they really crackheads, or is that just a metaphor you're using?
That's a metaphor I'm using.
Yeah, but they're Adrenochrome heads, so that's the same thing. It's way worse. Let me read this, you guys.
Somebody says there's no proof of any of this in the chat room.
Well, then you guys, then just exit the chat room. You don't have to. Skepticism is the root of, well, I won't go down that path, but read David Hawkins and understand what a skeptic is. Jeff, let me read this from you at the very end of Stellar Man. Very important. Goes on with
Stellar Man, ladies and gentlemen.
The truth is that there are black magicians in the worst sense of the word who are in reality the most ferocious enemies of the Stellar Men in order to attack them. In contrast to Stellar, we could perhaps correctly call them abysmal. Many of these black magicians know the strangest secrets to resist death. On Tibet, the horrible case of some indescribably ancient priests who stayed alive for thousands of years by feeding on live human beings, who had to die slowly in a special sarcophagus on top of the remains of others who had died before in the same place, in the same way. In reality, they had to slowly rot to death. But for the spell to be successful, this had to be done willingly. Right to what Derek is saying. Being convinced by the priest of extraordinary and decisive spiritual merit of a supreme confrontation with death. Next sentence. Count Dracula is not a fantasy. Hermetic tradition maintains that these beings really exist and that many of them lived thousands of years by drinking flesh blood extracted from humans.
What if I told you that there's a vampire that watches this program, this channel?
Obtaining the vitality necessary to restore their own system. That's adrenochrome. That's it. That's the blood. That's exactly why they drink the blood.
What would I say? I could tell you right now, there's lots of different kinds of vampires.
Yes, right.
Right? There's energy vampires. People become them. They don't really even understand that they're energy draconians, because we have this in us, folks. So this is the whole point, is that we have to ignore it. And this also has to, where we have compassion. You want to stop them, but that passerby part is really it, because it's also the trap. This is how good and complicated this is, that it plays on our willingness and our love for our fellow man, because even the bad people out there, even people that think they're, awful people, we all have this inherent need to salvage the next guy. That I don't think anybody could walk by a child being tortured and not do something about it. I don't care who you are, how big you are, how strong you are. You're gonna do it, because that's the divinity aspect of you. And I don't mean divinity like these idiots that run this show.
You know what's so weird? This just hit me, because you're talking about this, Derek, and Sandra told me this morning that she had a dream last night about her and I walked up upon somebody abusing a child, and we attacked him. And then you say that here tonight. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's more of a, those are the types of confirmations that it's like you're supposed to be having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
That just like I've said, and I was saying today on the show, and with Naughty Beaver and myself,
Was he actually on the show with you?
No. I was talking, well, he was in the chat, but I was doing a show about his video, right?
Okay.
So many times we've had conversations where I've done a show or I've done something. The Andromedian message was one of them, right? Where I show the sun, the moon, and I go, the moon's ancient name is to the ancients on this earth is sin.
Right.
The Andromedians call the moon leaven.
Yeah, 11. Yeah.
Right. So a little leaven,
A little leaven leavens the whole lump.
So you can't get away from these things, right?
So
And also
the leaven of the moon trying to leaven the whole lump of us here on earth.
yes, it's part of the device, right? If the moon is sin, it's actually, first of all, remember this, that the moon controls water. What percentage of us is water? That moon
75%
impacts
of
us,
the
it
earth.
changes us, it alters it, if it stirs it up, right? So there's a lot more there.
Lunatics.
So lunatics, exactly, right? So the real reality of this is, to not be scaring everybody that's watching right now.
No.
It's really about showing you the reality. And somebody, the person says that there's no proof to this. Let me just tell you this much. If I go to sleep at night and I wake up in the morning and something's missing, I go, wow, maybe I misplaced that. And then I go to sleep the next night and I wake up and there's something else missing. I go, wow, man, I must be screwing up. And then I do it another night and something else is missing. Eventually I go, somebody is coming in here. I don't have to see them to know it's happening.
Right.
The evidence is in front of me. And I could tell you, and the cops could say, well, did you see anybody? No. So yeah, there was no proof that anybody came in, but the evidence is within me. The evidence is what we've witnessed. The evidence is what we've seen. The evidence is written in ancient text that says this is their tactics, that is what they do. The evidence is coming out. Now, I won't even with all of that evidence. I won't say, even though I don't like the person, I don't think she was ever a nice person, and I've been confronted by her face to face. I do not like Hillary Clinton. I absolutely think she's an evil person. But
I got confronted by Hillary face to face once.
I'm just gonna say, not a person that I instantly knew. Yeah, she comes from a bad place.
There's something really bad in those eyes.
Really bad.
Oh
okay.
no, she's a dark being. You could tell every time she was in the whatchamacallit with Trump. Whenever she was there, in 3 debates.
Well,
oh my God.
Again, like some things I, as I said, there's some things that I disclose and I talk about, and some things I'm just not. There will be a time when I disclose things. That meeting and that confrontation is very specific. Okay, and contains ancient stuff and things that I knew, things that I actually had possession of, that I know. There is no other reason in the world for the confrontation other than those things that I had. And so it is evidence to me.
Derek, let me ask you a hardcore question, because we're going to get these questions, and I know we have a ton of people watching. So
we're talking about missing too. Let's talk about the 8 million missing kids.
No, we'll get to that in a second. But I just want to ask Derek, and because Jeff and I ask each other these questions all the time, and obviously amongst our friends and stuff like that, are any of these what's going to get arrested, or are they all just going to escape?
No, and you know what? You don't want them arrested, because what'll take place is going to be even better. So I'll tell you what really is going to end up happening. And this is where you need to be the passerby.
Right.
You don't need to cheer that they're being marched out before everybody and chewed up, because here's the reality of the situation. Understand that these powers that be execute, they will make an example of it because they need to. This is what they do. It's drama. Like 9/11. You want to knock down buildings. You're not just arresting these people and send them to jail. That is nowhere near sensational enough.
Right.
Think Hollywood on steroids, okay? So imagine when the dollar falls, the dollar is the backing currency for every country in the world.
Well, there's 4 that's not yet, but you're right.
Every country that means anything, that has anything to do with the economy, that has an impact. Right now, Russia's threatening. They're going, oh, we're going to come off. They might actually do that as part of the illusion.
Part of the illusion.
Okay? So when the dollar falls, the economic systems of the whole planet is going down with it.
Right.
Now, the whole world is going to demand blood like nobody's business. Okay? Those people will be marched out and executed in such a gruesome fashion to please the bloodthirsty world that we have behind us, to try to solve it. It will happen. Forget
So
about
the
it.
brothers will be feeding again, is what you're saying.
They will be feeding again. Now, here's the whole thing. That will happen, and it will be so ugly and so nasty. So now here's what happens to people's hearts. You have compassion for the people that were just murdered. Okay?
That's crazy.
Because you will. Now what they do with the hearts of the people in the country, they go, this can never happen again. One country can never be responsible for the entire currency of the world. So this is why we have a single currency for the whole world run by this united organization that runs the whole world. So that's the first step of it. So tribulation, folks, hasn't even begun.
So are you saying that happens before the end of the year? I mean, because I'm saying something has to happen before the end of the year. Trump is telling us something is going to happen.
That's why I would doubt that it wouldn't come.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. But is that what you're predicting, though? It's the financial reset will be the first movement in the, whatever comes.
It will. It'll be the distraction from all of this, just like everything else. Look, everything is a distraction.
Okay. So remember, The Economist, let's not forget, because they tell us way before, The Economist said 2018.
The Economist said 2018.
Of the new
they always tell the truth. It may happen before the end of the year. I've been predicting the fall of the dollar for quite some time because it's part of it. But like I said, it's all based on a clock. Other things have to be complete. Right. So if they can complete those by that time, they will. But we are in the year of 9. We are in the year of death for them, which is life.
Right.
So McCain, 81 in 18, right? 9. That guy going away. These people are dying because they're being put and preserved.
Heidi says it'll be 2019 for what that's worth.
That could also be it, because if you think of it from a scriptural standpoint, and the numbers that they go by, 9 and 1 is 10, and 10 means complete, done.
So do you see, all of us can answer this question, do you see any potential golden age, or is just going to the reset, and then depending on where our spirit souls are spiritually or how aware we are, we just go off to the next adventure, or we get back in blasted into baby's body and just wake up again in like the Stone Ages, if that's what happens?
There is going to be, this is going to be quite different.
Okay, explain.
This place will be cleansed like a sieve sifts out the noodles, right? We're the water, they're the noodles. And the new earth, now think about this, that the earth is saved up for fire. Okay, well, as I was talking about on the video today, we have a lot of things that are causing the light systems that they have are causing oxygen and hydrogen to be separated from the water. Our atmosphere is water. There is more water in our atmosphere than there is on the surface of the earth, contrary to what you might think, right? It's much bigger, much wider spans. And just because it's broken up in vapor and you can't see it, it only converges on these storms. But as they do these things, as it is harped, as it is radiated with the lights, hydrogen and oxygen become separated. This is one component of it. We also have methane releases that are higher, extremely higher than normal, coming out of the center of the earth, because the object that is in the center of the earth, which causes its link with the moon. You have to understand that what is inside this earth, our hot core, is a relationship to the moon.
That's actually the only thing that makes sense, because we know that the moon, from a physics standpoint, a rotation, magnetism, spin, it's theoretically impossible for it to be in the position that it's at. And
do you mind if I draw you a little whiteboard?
Not at all, as we cross 400,000 people watching, or 400, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's getting better. It's getting better.
Okay,
keep going.
So here's the earth.
Thank you all.
Here's the earth at a much bigger structure, right? Think about this for a second. Earth, much bigger structure, impacted, broken in half. This part goes away, becomes the asteroid belt. The position of the earth is changed from between Mars and Jupiter, where the asteroid belt lies, jammed into its new orbit, which is why ages went from 900 years old to 120 years old, okay? So now you have this earth that is primarily water, and this is all land that floats on top of the water. So now you have some water left here. The water that went with the other half of that became went in the same elliptical system as the invading system, which would be Nibiru, which is a long elliptical. And that's what you have the comets for. Halley's Comet, all of those are in the exact same elliptic. So now you have this, the turn of the Earth like this, the spinning of that breaks this land. And now you have a smaller planet around this piece of water here with broken pieces of land, the Earth today. This impact came as a result of an impactor, a sun, a small body, which is a sun, which is why we have a hot core. Now, to explain to you how this happens, why we have a moon. Just if you take a drop of water and you drop a water into a puddle, it'll look like that water drop that you dropped jumped off the puddle, right? Yeah. It'll look like it bounces. So when you see rain hitting a lake or hitting water puddles or something, it looks like the rain is dancing off the water. What that is when a raindrop comes down and hits the water, it comes into the water, and the water that was here is ejected out, and so it comes up.
It's called displacement.
It displaces the water. Okay, so the moon is the displacement of our impactor. That is why the moon spins. It doesn't spin like this. It spins at us, which is why you only see the bright side of the moon. You never see the dark side. Okay, and the moon
is made out of the same stuff that's in the core of the Earth.
It is, and that's what they'll tell you. They'll tell you that it's made of what is inside our core and has
perfect. Is it hollow, Derek?
Mantle on it. It may very well be. Like people say the Earth is flat, and I keep trying to explain to people, like, so you got hollow, and the Earth is hollow for that matter.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, we know the Earth is hollow. There's many species that live inside.
Yeah. So
you gotta love this shit, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is the way I try to explain it. Throw a bunch of clothes in a dryer, right? They're gonna lay flat on the bottom of the dryer. Turn the dryer on. Before you know it, those clothes are gonna be doing this, and we're living on the surface of those clothing. So the moon, now check this out. If you look at the Gulf of Mexico, it is the impactor site.
Of where oh, wow.
Okay, that's where it came in. If you spin the planet around and look on the back of the planet where that was, it's like it was pushed out in the same shape as the Gulf of Mexico.
So what race, Derek? Because I mean, obviously we read many of the same texts and many of the same things. What race or what species or what group of beings outside of the Anunnaki moved the moon into the orbit it's now in, and then obviously connected it with the core and however way they did it, you know?
Well, if you read the Anunnaki text, the amazing part about the Anunnaki text is that it was the celestial body of Nibiru that did it. But remember this, that the Anunnaki texts also explain that they were on Nibiru. There were volcanoes there too. Oddly enough, volcanoes seem to follow the Anunnaki.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so.
And L. Ron Hubbard's Scientology mythos is built all around volcanoes. Just an interesting factoid.
Vulcan.
Yep. So here's the deal. That volcanoes follow these people. It seems to that they were on their planet, and it's what was also destroying their atmosphere. Now they speak of it as an invader. So when they're given the text that the invader, that they are considered invaders, which would make perfect sense with the Andromedan message, right? That would make perfect sense that these are invader species. They went to Nibiru and invaded, and that they destroyed that planet and then came here and invaded and are destroying this planet with the same tactic, that they use these as weapons against planets. Now, amazingly, that the ancient texts refer to planets as warships.
Right, that's true. Joseph Patrick Farrell has actually decoded all of that.
Yeah, when you're reading ancient text that is 40,000 years old, and it refers to warships as planets, right, you seriously sit back for a second and go, "What did I just read?"
Right.
So Nibiru was a warship.
It's a warship and has ships with it. So
if you watch the last Star Trek movie, this story, there was a planet called Nibiru, and there's a story of this ship that is basically a huge ship that goes around killing planets.
Roddenberry knew all this stuff, and then all these satellites, which again, if you read the Enuma Elish and you read the Bhagavad Gita, those satellites are probably, you're right, they're probably anthropomorphic ships.
And if you want to know the chemical composition, you read the ancient the Sefer Sirach, which is the book of creation. Okay. Yep. And it's literally, I mean, it's crazy that it gives you, and this is where they get Yahweh from. Okay. That with the letters,
yep,
our DNA, right? This is why so many people revere these people. They just have to recognize the attributes of these people are not good. That, you know, oh, I created you, I love you. Yeah, you love me. You love me like a cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like, so.
Or like a beast of burden, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. You love you like your cows in the field. I love my sheep.
My donkey. Right? He carries my shit everywhere.
And these are hard truths. Look, everybody, anybody listening, I fully grasp that this, if you have grown up like Jeff and I grew up, and I don't know whether you grew up a Christian, Jay, but I mean, I grew up, I was in a Christian band. I was in church. I was always in church, you know, Sunday, Wednesday night. I believed in God. I believed in
Derek went to church 8 days a week.
Yeah. And for these truths to be handed to me in an instant and for my mind to literally shattered was death.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anybody, nobody told me. I didn't watch it on YouTube, right? It was just out of the blue, everything. It's like the conclusion to every story was thrown into my head. It's as though somebody cut my head off and put a different one on it. I was an entirely different person, yet I was in the same body. I sounded the same, but entirely new. And the way that you can look at these things is you have absolute destruction in your eyes because you can see the evil so prevalent now.
That's right? Why I trust Jay. That's why I trust you. That's why I trust me. We've been to that dark place where we've hit rock bottom. We've fallen on the rock and been broken.
Yes, it broke the hell out of me, man. I was absolutely shattered. I mean, I didn't even want to get up off the ground. I fully understand
what happened to Jay back when he had dyed blonde hair, bleached blonde.
Yeah, when prophets speak of, you know, my bones were made like water, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. And you know for certain, that isn't just from nobody, right? And I immediately questioned because of the things that were being shown to me. I questioned where I got this from. I was like, crap, maybe the Antichrist is here. And you begin to question these things. And as the layer of the onion, you realize that just like scripture said, is that the destroyer of worlds is really just that, destroying the world in me and showing me the real one was that destroyer of worlds. So there's all of these different elements of allegory.
Lord Shiva.
Absolutely. So these things come in. You can look at it as evil. I guarantee you that they see these things as evil. Just like people going, the words you're speaking are evil. You're destroying the world. You're damn right I am. There isn't anything good about this place. That's why we're here. Right? So, I'm not here to make this world pretty. We're
here to change this world, and to change it, we got to destroy it.
Yes, you don't get to make, look, the kingdom is within you, what Christ said. And this is the shattering part to people's minds, is that this is exactly what Christ was doing.
The church lady says, Satan.
Exactly what Christ was doing, right? This is why it's so prophetic. And this is how you can see that they are totally deceived. He said this, I came to cast fire in the earth, and basically, damn it, it's not kindled yet.
So Derek, do you think then, because obviously we got to try to tie this up so people who are not at our level can try to understand and piece this together, but do you think that the Anunnaki are in some capacity, the Warring Brothers, benevolent at times, or it's just a giant game and they switch sides and they switch roles? And it doesn't really matter. And ultimately this game, this cosmic ages old game, you know, runs out, you know, like Pinella talks about, you know, every 3,600 years or every 10,000 years or whatever it is. And obviously the timelines we know change too. Is there any benevolence on any of the sides? I mean, so many people that are watching this right now that read Gerald Clark, that read Sitchin, read, you know, what's his name? Michael Tellinger, you know, they want to believe that there's a good side of the Anunnaki. They want to think that Enki and his son Toth and, you know, every other name he has really does care about us because they created us, you know, from, you know, whatever they mated us with, Neanderthal, you know, whatever, Australopithecus. But bottom line is there any side of them that truly does want to see our DNA evolve?
Think of good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
They're both cops.
Yeah.
Right. And both of them have the same interest in mind, right? One's playing the nice guy, one's playing the bad guy. Both of you are putting you in prison. Both of them are putting you in prison. Okay. Enki comes off as just like it says in that scripture. Like I said, Elohim and Yahweh was named Cain and Abel for deception. This is essentially the story of Enki and Enlil. And they were named that for deception that you have. And it says one is just and one is unjust. One plays like he's just. One says I'm unjust. They play those roles perfectly, right? So this is also where you have, but I do agree that, see, they also, this is the saving grace of this, guys. This is like the architect in the Matrix saying, I'll let those go free that want to be free, right? But you have to have the will to be free. And this is my whole point. These guys are part of the system because they're playing by rules of, say, the exopolitical rules. They're trying to thread the needle of the exopolitical laws. So they basically can say to you at any given time, we told them that they could be free. Right. We told them the truth. We told them everything. But every single time they bought the lies that we told too. But even then, their lies are so direct and so in front of your face that if you accept them, right, you accept them in the wrong way. So your understanding of the truthful statement is distorted. People say, well, the Bible's infallible. I go, hey, I'll tell you right now, everything you need to know is in there. They made damn sure of it. Everything you need to know is in there. Right. The difference is the altering of your mind and how you see it, that you're always going to shift. Even this lady that I was talking to that came confronting me on my channel, totally awake, understanding that Paul's the Antichrist, but she's all on Yahweh. And I see, all you did was that you finally found out the BS of the one God, and now you're supporting the other one, right? Thinking that, and that's what happens. You just shift from one idiot to the next. And I'm telling you right now, we are more powerful than this. Guys, we are reduced down to, even in this physical body, we are reduced down to 10% of this brain. Turn this thing on and they're in deep doo-doo.
Listen, Christian or Catholic, Protestant, Republican, Democrat, good, bad, black, white, Enlil, Inky. It's the same old tune, ladies and gentlemen. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey.
Turn off your TV. Turn it off.
It's the world of duality. It's the world of duality.
The greatest peace you will ever have. I said this to my mom.
Yes, Paul was the false apostle. He's the first Antichrist.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Paul was the first and says so, right? Yeah. He was the inverse of Jesus Christ. That's why he said, I'm in Christ Jesus. Copy?
Yeah.
Man, this has been an absolutely amazing podcast, guys. I mean, Jeff, there's just a couple more bullets, and I want to tie it into what Derek has kind of brought out.
And imagine that really quick, Jay. Just imagine this. Yeah. Jeff invited me on this show like 30 seconds before we.
Know, you were ready, bro. You were ready. You were born ready. You had your hat. It was hanging up. You're like, hell yeah, I'm going to come on the show.
I brought the mask, baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been absolutely amazing. But I just want to throw this in here because it ties into everything that Derek is saying. And there's a book that I put. If you're into Decoders of Truth. And obviously I'll put it, Jeff, I'll put a link to it in the link after this so people can download it, but it's called Aliens, The Strange Truth. It's a brand new book that Robert Stanley sent me and Jeff about a week ago. It's very short. It's only 110 pages. I mean, God, we're going through so many books these days, but it's an amazing book. It's supposedly a channeling from the Ascended Masters, the White Brotherhood, the guys that are supposedly in Agartha in Tibet or whatever. And they talk about like what aliens, that's why it's called Aliens, The Strange Truth. So anyway, I just wanted to put this out there to just stop people right now forever. Because again, I've been down this rabbit hole my whole life too. And I pretty much feel now that I know what aliens are. Okay. There are no negative aliens. All aliens, and when I say aliens, I mean, beings of higher dimensional form, different planets, different, galaxies, universes, or whatever. The aliens in negative form are just demonic. They absolutely are demons. And these demons are minions of, you know, our friends that we've been talking about, Lucifer, however you want to phrase them. And again, Lucifer and Enlil, or Lucifer and Marduk, it's all the same people, maybe even Enki. I mean, it's, again, they're switching roles, good cop, bad cop. But it's fascinating because they talk about the Greys, and the Greys, which is what people see when they get abducted. And, you know, that's the thing that are imprinted in people's minds when they see it. They say all they are is literally a biobot that's engineered by this reptilian, you know, and again, the reptilians guys are just minions of the Dark Brotherhood, the Anunnaki, the dark, you know, they're just a part. They've been indigenous, supposedly, even here before humans were here. But that's what the Greys are. They're biobots. They're experimenting on us, and they're not aliens. They're demonic. They're literally forms of demonics. Now, you know, again, in this book, it also says there are some Greys that are used by advanced alien species that are sentient and not demonic. But it makes a lot more sense to me now, because I've always thought, like, why would an alien come here and destroy this planet? They've never done it in the past. Obviously, they're playing games with us with the Anunnaki and stuff like that. But it just seems like that makes more sense, that true aliens are not here to disturb us because they're of higher dimensional power and intellect and existence. What do you think about that, Derek?
There are definitely, and this is spoken throughout all of the ancient text. Okay, so when you have the Anunnaki, they have a subset of themselves which are a lower class of the Anunnaki, which are called the Igigi. To me, that's what sounds like to me the Greys. And
right,
keep in mind, they're still, according to these texts,
didn't
gods.
They used to do the work before they created us? The Igigi?
Yes,
yeah, they were they were what created the rebellion. So they rebelled. And keep in mind that they're clearly smart and powerful enough, because they were going to go burn down Enlil's house and kill him.
Right.
For making them work so hard. So there was a serious rebellion. And keep in mind that they also can die. They do die in this. Right. The difference is that their lifespans, according to, and this is, people try to understand this. So that's why I say when the planet was moved from between Mars and Jupiter, that our age difference happened. We age faster. If you jump from here to Mercury, you would age a lot faster. If you went all the way out to Jupiter, right, 1 year around the sun is now a long time. So, excuse me, sorry, I tried to mute that. I ran out of water. Would you get me a water, Jay?
It's been a long show. He's out of water.
So when you think about who they are and where they come from, that there are these other species that are spoken about this within these texts. It is deep. It is real. They are powerful. And so when you think about who they would be, they were the worker class for them. They were also the ones that were called the fallen, truly, that came with. They weren't ranked as high, but they were the class of the 200 fallen.
Right.
Right. So when in the story in the ancient Anunnaki text, it was Marduk had them on Mars as a way station, which is why they were called the Watchers. It was their job to watch over the operations of Earth.
Right.
And
it was Earth Station. There was Earth Station 1.
And isn't it interesting that the old original mythos was that it was Martians that were going to come and invade us?
Martians, Marduk.
Yep.
Mars, folks. And this isn't stuff that people make up. These are texts that are very old, okay? And it's clear that this became also the mystery schools of the Egyptians. It's clear that Moses spent a whole lot of time in Egypt learning the mystery schools, which is why he changed the name of Isis and Set to Cain and Abel. And because he couldn't exactly get away with taking their religion and then giving it to the people and say, because they would say, hey, dude, why did you make us leave if you're just going to give us the same crap?
Yeah, there's no doubt the mystery schools, the origin of the mystery schools and what they have now come is what you were talking about at the beginning of the show, which is all of the Masons, the Rosicrucians, all of the secret societies are all interconnected, but they all emanate and stem from, you know, the land of Chem, which was obviously Egypt. And that's where, you know, after the fall of Atlantis, that's where they went and they rebuilt. And, you know,
and Joth went after the fall of Atlantis.
Yeah, and think Satan, Saturn. Okay, so there's more to all the planets too. Satan,
Right.
Saturn. Saturn has the hexagon up at the top of its North Pole and its South Pole. That hexagon happens to be the home of the Star of David, as above, so below. Right.
Okay, guys, I just got a really good message from somebody who follows us very closely and loves us. And he says, you guys, this show has been absolutely amazing, but you're losing steam. It's missing practical application right now. Can you provide some direction as you close it out? I think that's actually a good text. So I'm not going to, so I think we've gone all over the place. So we didn't cover the last point about Toth. I don't think it really matters. We can do it on the next show, Jeff. But I want to just get all of us in a summary of like where we're going. Okay. We all have kind of made it out to be today that the world is pretty effed. And it's always been like this. We've advanced many times as a species. We've had many human epics, obviously Atlantis, Lemuria, who knows what was before that. Now we're in this age in the last 11,000 years. But where are we going? Because one thing you didn't say, Derek, where we were at was we kind of started going down that path. And we all can make this prediction. It's just a wild guess, I'm sure. But where are we going from here? Because you kind of intimated that you think that we are going to clean the darkness and we are going to go into a new age, the age of Aquarius. Is it going to be a golden age? Is it going to be a time where people are still here and we have this, fabulous technology and everybody loves everybody and blah, blah, blah? Or is that just all a fable?
See, this is where, when we're speaking, it's so difficult, Jay, for people to comprehend our own three-dimensional world, much less a four-dimensional or fifth-dimensional, right? But we know for fact that they exist, right? Just because we cannot visually see a fourth dimension. We cannot physically see a fifth. So here's the reality of it. If we're eternal beings and this planet is cleansed of these and the earth is saved up for fire, if we are scorched here, those that have the spirit to stay and that aren't harvested as a result of the energy because they have sold themselves to the enemy. In other words, they like the enemy's world. They want this. So here's the whole point. This is Christ's statement. So when you say, what is the practical application? We don't have to reinvent that stuff here, folks. He came and said it. The point is, he wasn't who most people think he was. He was telling you the practical application. He's saying, die to this crap. Forget about everything that you see. This world isn't it. And just the statement is, and I will return you. Now that return you to your father, return means you came from there and you will never have to leave again means you did leave at one time. So two confirmations, which is always two witnesses, even within the statement. That's how you know something is true and that he's saying. That's why he would tell you witnessing for it twice when he'd say truly, truly, right?
Verily, verily. That's a double emphatic in the Greek.
Double emphatic. He's like, this is the truth. Not only is it true one way, it's true in the opposite direction. So here's the real deal.
So your answer, Derek, your answer is don't play the game. If in the next 6 months to 6 years, whatever it is, we don't know the timeline. If it's Armageddon, end times, you just have to be at peace. Again, getting your soul right.
Kingdom.
Wherever you go is, if your soul is right, it's going to be good.
Yes.
Jeff, you agree?
Yeah, I think it's, I had this vision a long time ago when I was still a stupid Pentecostal preacher, but it was two great rivers side by side flowing in opposite directions. And I think that's what it's going to be at the end of times. Depending upon which river you're in, you might be in the river that we're going to go to the next good place. If you're in the river that's going the opposite way, it's going to go opposite for you.
I think, like, if you think about the journey of souls and the guy that wrote those books, and you just think that, as Derek said in the very beginning of the show, we're all infinite beings. We're these plasma energy balls inside these meat suit hosts. And if you're doing the right things, you're serving others, you're peaceful and you're kind, and you have no attachment, and obviously you practice loving as a state of being for all of life. If you regularly do those three things, again, those are the credo of David Hawkins and other great.
What does have no attachment mean?
When you do things of kindness and peace, you don't have an expectation of an outcome.
Okay.
You don't do something in expectation that somebody's going to do something for you. You're doing it out of the goodness of your heart in service to humanity. Okay. So if you do those three things regularly, and regardless of what you do, you're a banker, an accountant, a ditch digger, a bus driver, it doesn't matter. If you do those things, then you should be, as the great teachings, the great spiritual avatars have taught us, you should be on the path to be, the wheat that's harvested, quote unquote, into heaven. Now, as Derek said, heaven is within, and clearly this is a prison planet. This is a matrix control system that we are all in right now. But we do have, our souls are free and sovereign, we believe. At least most of us, we know the ones watching the show are. So if you do those three things, you shouldn't worry. So many people, and you guys know this, so many people come to us and say, well, what should we do? Should we prep? I mean, I have so many people coming to me and saying, I'm like, well, where can I go and hide? That's not the point. You're not trying to have an underground bunker or a cave complex or a mountain hideaway. None of that matters. If the end comes, meaning to our physical existence in this incarnation, in this time space, in this 3D reality, it doesn't matter if you've done the work.
If you've done the work, but here's the thing is, done the work is also peace.
Right.
That no attachments is not attached to anything in this world, and recognizing that this is why Christ's words were like, if you're not willing to leave family, mother, father, daughter, children, right? If you're not
houses,
willing,
lands, he also said
everything,
all of it, right? He didn't say if you don't, then you can't. He said if you're not willing, and that means that you got to leave it and you got to recognize it for what it is. If this planet is a prison planet and it is fake, and that is literally Christ's words telling you that you're in prison and that their fathers are Satan and that you are literally under Satan's rule.
No doubt
if
about
Satan wasn't here and the deception wasn't already in place, then Christ came for no purpose at all. Those pieces, just for those that believe in that, right?
What Derek just said is very important that we say again. And Jeff has said this a million times, and he said this in his books, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I'm just going to put this out there. This is Lucifer's realm. It states right in the Nag Hammadi that this is the devil's world. If you cannot accept that, then that's on you, man.
Hey, Jay, it says it in the Bible. Jay, it says it in the Bible.
I know it's coded in the Bible for most people, but it states it exactly in the Gnostic teachings in the Nag Hammadi. I've highlighted it. I've sent it to Robert. I've sent it to Jeff. I mean, it's there.
And Paul says it about as clearly as you can.
But Paul said it straight to your face.
Yeah,
and
he does too.
Right to your face. The little good G God, right, has blinded your minds. But here's the other thing. In Christ's story, right, Satan offered him the whole world. And like I always say to people, how could he offer Jesus the whole world and everything in it if it's not his? Right? He's going to done. Right? So that's that. End of story. It's Satan's world. Full stop. There is no argument in it. If it isn't Satan's world, then Jesus came for no reason, folks.
Right.
None.
Your daddy's the devil, and you're all believing a liar.
I just saw that craziness.
Your daddy's the devil. You're all believing a liar. Yeah.
That's the truth.
That's what he said.
Someone just
That's
wrote
what
something
the Christ
crazy.
said, not the Doherty. The Christ said that.
Right.
Yeah. The Doherty didn't say that. He's just repeating the words of the Christ. He came and said, hey, by the way, your father's the devil and you're all following the liar, right?
Yeah.
He was a liar from the beginning.
Remember, too, we've said this many times before, Jeff. It stands to reason because I see some craziness in the chat right now. Jesus Christ is not Jesus the Christ. Remember that.
Right. So like Derek says it very well. Jesus Christ and Christ Jesus, two different dudes. Christ Jesus is plastic Jesus.
Christ wasn't his last name. Christ is the Spirit of the Father in man, which Christ himself told you that you needed to have just what he had and asked for you to be just like him. I don't understand where people lose this, right? So from the practical application standpoint,
Jay Christ, Derek Christ, Jeffrey Christ.
End of story. When you're in Christ, you know it. Like I've articulated many times on my videos, it is an office, right? There are many people that are president, but there's only one president, right? Yeah. There's only one presidency. It's an office in that way, is that anybody can sit in that seat, and when you sit in that seat, you are the Christ. And
I hate to put it this way, ladies and gentlemen, but you'll either have your office filled or your orifice filled.
Yes. So the fact of the matter is that It is that office. That's why it's a body of Christ. That's why he said that the return of the Son of Man would be like lightning striking in the east and flashing in the west, that it's wide. And that's why he said, if they tell you that I've returned, don't believe them. Yeah, don't believe them, because I'm not there. If they tell you to go there, I'm not there. They're going to kill me, but Christ will be returned. I'll go.
And he also said there won't be any outward signs of the coming, because it's an inward transformation, ladies and gentlemen.
Period. And this is also why the return of the Son of Man comes like a thief in the night, because everybody won't even see it, just like the people out there that are twice dead, not listening, not paying attention, not receiving.
Twice dead. That's good. That's good.
Jay, tell us where we can find out about all of your work.
I did want to add one more point of something that we
add one more point.
It's very important, actually, is that if this is Trump telling us, as we've iterated or kind of alluded to throughout the show, indirectly or directly, guys, it is important. And again, I'm not a prepper. I'm not telling you to build a bungalow or build a vault.
Bunker,
or
I think you mean.
Buy a bunker. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
A bungalow.
But if we are going to move to a better timeline, and those of us who have done the work are going to be there, and as Derek predicted, and again, I kind of agree with him. I really do. There's going to be something coming. They're telling us, make sure you do have enough water, protein powder, and canned goods that can last you, I would say, at least 10 days, probably longer. It's probably safe to say maybe a month. And again, I'm not a prepper, and I'm not trying to have you fear and control guilt matrix. I'm just telling you to do the work. Like Jeff and I always talk about, you got to be proactive to optimize.
But here's the other thing that I'd just like to say. When you find the peace, when you die to yourself, when you die to the wrecking, when you die to this world, the amount of love that you have for everybody is exponential. And the fear that you have is done. I could literally sit outside right now and 1,000 tanks could roll through the property, and I'd sit and look at them and go, yep, just like I thought.
Yeah.
I wouldn't jump up and go, oh my God, I don't care. I know it's going to happen. I know what this looks like. It's like when you say I'm not a prepper, you know what? I am a prepper, but there is no amount of food or water that you can store up. You cannot prepare yourself physically for what is happening. You can only prepare yourself spiritually. That's why I spent 125 or 130 videos. Prepare yourself here so none of it bothers you. That's where the power's at. And when they come and go, hey, you either do this or we're going to kill you, go, hey, take out the marker and go right here, right there.
Cut here.
Yeah, be fine. But until then, this body will be built. And reality is that body is what will remain, because you will not be appetizing. They're not going to take somebody. You're not even going to be repeated. Let me tell you something. When you're woken up like this, the last thing that these things, even if this was to continue as a host body repetitive system, they're not taking you. You're being thrown away. And that throwing away is good, because then you return to the source is the whole point. So either way, if you're going to remain here, you remain here, and it's most likely in another dimension. The world's safe up for fire. And I could tell you that you want this thing to burn, because from that burn, just like burned grass, burns out impurities, everything goes back into the soil. The lush beauty that it would become, what this earth would become, will be staggering.
Yeah, Mother Earth will always overcome and will always
done.
Yeah.
She's done with it.
That's actually something that we didn't talk about on the show. We won't, but I mean, more proof to the idea of what we're saying is absolutely inevitable. The technology, as Jeff and I talked about on Friday night, the AI, the 5G, all of this stuff is so outstripped physical humanity that there is no way that it can last much longer, because it will destroy the earth.
Jay, let me just say this. When I tell people, when I tell you that some of us are here voluntarily, right? Some of us came back because the prodigal son story, just like the Hebrews would do, is they would turn it from a prodigal daughter or prodigal wife or prodigal mother. They would turn it from mother to son, right? Remove all the feminine aspects of it. That's why they all worship the divine feminine, but they're going to remove the feminine aspect. The reality is, my personal belief in what I've been shown is that mother is the one that was lost, that she was taken and captive. And I can tell you right now, I'm here to make sure, at least that from what I know about me, I know why I'm here. And this all comes to a close. She is not going to remain in captivity, period.
And she is the land we stand on right now, our mother.
Right under your feet. That's why wherever you stand is holy ground.
Let me say something real quick, because I'm getting a lot of texts from a lot of people that are watching the show and stuff. And they're just telling us, you know, man, Derek lost me, or blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem. The problem
I'm not here
is,
to satisfy them, Jay. I'm just letting you know.
No, I'm
not here to make anybody
all you watch is singing contest and who's getting voted off the freaking island.
I'm going to give you kudos right now, Derek. This is what I want people to understand. Okay. There is no winner. There is no gold medalist that we can give a trophy to. There is no answer that the good guys are going to win, bro. We're all going to sing Kumbaya. No. We have the text. They've told us. If you can read them and you have a brain and you have a heart, and the heart is even more important than the brain, and you can discern and you can know, and you can feel and meditate on it, think about it, and contemplate on it. There's no great answer. There is no right or wrong. There is not going to be, in the world of duality, the good guys win. It doesn't work that way. It never has.
We're not picking a side, folks. Learn that. Don't pick a side.
And here's the thing, that there is no such thing as right and wrong. There is no such thing as winning an argument. When somebody wants to argue with me about truth, okay, they go, you're wrong. And I go, you know what? It doesn't matter whether you win the argument in your mind. You only won it in your mind. But it didn't alter the truth just because you think you won the argument. See, this is where we build up our false temples. We want the argument to win inside ourselves so we can move to the next day. The fact of the matter is that anybody that wants to disagree or agree, there is no room for that anymore. Right. I don't care whether somebody disagrees with me, because what I have is my truth. They have their truth. And the only reason they would be unhappy with something that I said is because what I said disrupted and destroyed the truth that they thought they had. And
if Derek, I don't care if they agree with me anymore either.
And if I was able to destroy the truth that they thought that they had, well, then they never had truth in the first place. Because if you actually have truth, it's indestructible. It cannot be altered. Truth is unalterable. It can be unrecognized, but it can't be changed.
It's back to what you just said. It's a willingness to not be attached to a perceived outcome. And their perceived outcome is the good guys are going to win. We're going to eliminate the cabal.
All I have to know, and this is all you have to know, and this is the repeated thing, this ain't home.
Right.
Exactly. I'm not home
guys,
right now.
I just realized something. These people, these 400 people, are watching three guys that really don't give a shit.
Or know anything.
And we're fine with it.
Do you know who I care for? The people that are supposed to hear.
Yep.
The people that aren't supposed to hear, I do care. I weep for you. But I'm not going to go, oh, please believe me. Because it has nothing to do with that. Christ wasn't out there going, please believe me. He said, hey, he said what he said, and he said, he who has ears will hear. Done.
Yep.
Done. And then he said, if they hear you, right, go into their house. If they hear you, let your peace come unto them. If they don't hear you, let your peace return to you, and shake off the dust from your boots and get out of Dodge.
Yeah. Now I'm going to try this one more time, and we'll see if we get there this time. Okay. Tell us where people can find your information.
Yeah. So first off, guys, amazing podcast tonight. Jeff, thanks for having me on. I know Derek came on at the last second. Derek actually made, in my opinion, this podcast better because he threw everybody for a loop, because we got a much better, in my opinion, we got a much better answer than probably Jeff and I going down a rabbit hole, because we would have probably left everybody hanging. But I think this was an amazing podcast. You can find me, easiest way to find me is on Twitter. I try to avoid social media these days, but I will go on Twitter and get into good conversations, and that's at TRT Expert. If you want any of my books, again, I always give out copies of my books as PDFs for free. You can send an email to jay@trtrevolution.com or contact@trtrevolution.com. Contact will probably get you the books faster, because I have a million emails that people are emailing me from all over the world. But again, guys, thank you guys for having me on the show tonight. Derek, it was awesome to meet you and finally do a podcast with you. And thank you to all of you guys that have watched us tonight. I would just ask that you share these podcasts, you share this material, you get this type of information out there. The more people that can become aware of what's truly going on, who can essentially, increase their awareness, because that's ultimately what we have to do to get out of the fear and control matrix.
Yeah, we're just getting started, Jay. Derek Rose, tell the folks where they can reach you.
If you think really hard, no, I'm just kidding. I'll appear. No, Global Witness.
That might be true.
Yeah, youtube.com/C/Global Witness 1260, 1260 days.
One more time, Jay, or Derek, I'm sorry.
Global youtube.com/C, which means channel, /Global Witness 1260. Go to that channel. All of the things as far as what we do, the practical application, go there. You can watch those there because it's a longer story because it's a path that you have to follow. That's why it's a journey. That's why it's called the way. That's why it's called the truth. And that's why it's called the life.
Absolutely. Very well stated. Gentlemen, many thanks. What a fantastic podcast this was. I salute all of you that have been here seeking after truth. The divinity in me recognizes divinity in all of you. And we do wish you love and light. Jay and Derek, please sit there for 1 second so I can say goodbye to you. Thank you to all of you in the chat room. We appreciate it so much. And we'll look forward to bringing you some great broadcast excellence on Derek's channel, The Global Witness, this channel. What is it called? New Cosmic Knowledge. And Jay, you're on the front of my YouTube channel. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's a couple. My personal is TOT Revolution. And then, of course, we have the Decoders of Truth YouTube
The
channel.
Decoders of Truth. Absolutely. Make sure you look that all up. Like Derek says, we love you all very much. Love and light to every one of you. And we'll see you again real soon.
Thank you, guys.